The claim that I'll be making is that the death penalty should not be accepted, no matter the circumstances, in any parts of our nation. There are many reasons as to why the death penalty should not be accepted. The most important idea that people need to understand is that by using the death penalty, we're being very hypocritical as a nation. Through the practicing of punishing people with death as a result of them killing other people, aren't we just encouraging murder even more? Supporters of the death penalty will say that anyone who takes the life of someone deserves to die themselves. However, by taking the life of a person for killing someone else, aren't we just doing the same exact thing? Others may argue that criminals themselves are clearly very immoral, so why should we treat them morally if they are not abiding by the social accepted norms and morals? While this argument is encouraging, no one should become immoral as a result of other people's actions, but they should treat people based off their own moral beliefs. The whole concept of morality is that we need to understand the difference between right and wrong, and no matter the circumstances, we should hold true to these concepts. Another claim by the supporters of the death penalty is that the penalty will reduce crime in our nation. Although this is understandable to believe, scientific studies have proven the exact opposite. Instead of making crime decrease in our nation, it's making it increase. A majority of states that allow the death penalty are located in the southern parts of the United States. 80% of executions for the death penalty are in the South, and the South has a much higher crime rate than the North. Another reason that the death penalty should not be welcomed is because many people who are sentenced to death are later exonerated and proven to be innocent. This is, of course, after they're being killed, and their innocence is absolutely meaningless. When innocent people are being sentenced to jail for the rest of their lives and eventually proven innocent, although this is still horrible, they at least have the rest of their lives to look forward to. When an innocent man or woman is killed for a crime that they did not commit, there is no way to give them back their life. How could someone live with themselves after knowing they took the lives of an innocent person? If these claims aren't convincing enough, the death penalty doesn't even kill the worst criminals. Being sentenced to death is based off a lot of other different things. For one, if you kill a white person, you're a lot more likely to be sentenced to death than if you kill an African American. Although this isn't directly stated in our laws, the statistics have shown this to be true. Out of the 18,000 executions throughout the history of the death penalty, only 42 of them were as a result of a white person killing an African American. On top of this, 80% of people who were put on the death penalty killed someone who was white, and only 14% of the victims were African American. This is the government trying to tell us that a white individual's life is a lot more important than a black individual's. By saying that a white person's life is a lot more important than a black's, we're going back to a time about 50 years ago where blacks and whites did not have the same rights. Although we have come a long way since then, the government is making it seem like there is still racism to exist, and although it does, it's not to the extent where someone should be killed for killing a white person but not a black person. On top of this, the worst criminals are not likely to murder someone in a state where the death penalty is established. Because the death penalty is only established in certain states, it is very easy for a murderer to go out of his way to commit a crime in areas where they will not get the worst possible punishment. If this isn't evidence enough as to why the death penalty should not be permitted in the United States, the cost to keep the death penalty in establishment is just another reason. On average, the death penalty costs about $1.26 million per year. In 2017, there's only been 27 executions from the death penalty. That's less than one execution per state. The United States is paying a ridiculous amount of money to have this type of punishment in our country. Lastly, let's take the friends and family of these criminals into consideration. By executing these criminals, we're not only punishing them, but we're punishing their loved ones. They have to hear that their son or their brother or their best friend is being killed and they can do nothing about it. This will probably affect them for the rest of their lives, and even though they didn't do anything to deserve this, they're still getting punishment for it. Between all the costs, immoral, unethical, and unreasonable outcomes to having the death penalty legal in the United States, there is no reason for anyone to believe that this punishment should be legalized and used in a country that demoralizes death to such a great extent. People deserve a second chance, and people can change. The death penalty is not giving people the second chance that they are entitled to as human beings who do make mistakes. Of course, if you are on death row, you've done something so horrible to end up there. However, our society supports that there are other ways for people to make up for their actions. Making the death penalty illegal is not saying that these people are going to get away with something that they did that was so cruel. It is saying that they should be punished for their actions with consequences that will help them learn in the future, not end their lives because they have ended the lives of other people. The death penalty needs to come to an end in our nation. If we begin to encourage the death penalty, people will begin to become demoralized and believe that ending someone's life is okay, which obviously it's not. At the end of the day, the death penalty is only increasing our chances of becoming a nation that does not believe that everyone's lives matter. When this begins to happen, we will no longer be considered a democracy, and the citizens of the United States will begin to question the morality of the people running our country.